Did you plan your summer vacation yet? This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. We are the Focus Group here every Wednesday through our social media feed at Facebook Live or YouTube. And you can find all of our programming, including our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned, at focusgroupradio.com. You can download all of our video and audio casts there. So thanks, everybody, for doing that. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount who sponsor us each week as well. You'll see a list of our sponsors on the right-hand side at our website. And you can click on them and start shopping away so we get credit, and we appreciate it, and they do too, of course. So we're in our last week of June Pride, I guess, John, or June.
Well, it's the week that we pack up the leprechaun. He says,
Right.
"Top of the pride to you for the last time until next June, folks."
Yeah, we get slapped with the prospect after women's equality for whether they can do what they want with their bodies regarding birth. The thought that maybe some rights that were given to the LGBT community around same-sex marriage may go away. Or at least they say they won't, but they also didn't think Roe v. Wade would go away either, did they?
Well, yeah. And I think the court has clearly signaled, and, as of Monday, they also passed down another ruling about a coach who would kneel on the field and pray after a game. Now, he didn't force his students to do it. But again, I don't remember this in school when I was a kid. I don't remember any of this stuff. When we went to church, it was different from school, right?
Well, there's separation at a public school, of course, or it should be. I wonder how they would feel if you brought out a prayer mat.
Oh, well, if it was different religion entirely.
That's what I mean,
and,
right? If you brought out a little prayer mat and did an homage to Allah,
Yep.
they'd probably go crazy.
Well, they would. Now, before we started the broadcast, you said that you had just called up a list of states that would automatically rescind LGBT, gay marriage if the Supreme Court knocked down the right, and you said some of them were surprising.
Well, yeah. Well, they all said so. Similar to Roe v. Wade, it triggered a number of states to immediately. They had hairpins coming out of their ass. Some of these Republican governors to get to the state houses to enact these bans on abortion. And so then somebody had put together. This came from. I believe it was from the Compass website, but they listed the states that currently have constitutional amendments against marriage equality or same-sex marriage or marriage equality. And they said these would immediately be triggered if the similar thing happened. If there was a case that went before the Supreme Court and the states challenged, these 30 states could immediately enact it, similar to what they've done with the abortion issue. And the states are, so these are states that would be able to immediately ban marriage or currently have and have not repealed same-sex marriage bans. So Hawaii, Alaska, Mississippi.
Is Hawaii surprising to you?
Yes.
Okay.
They have a constitutional amendment. They do have the issue to reserve. So Hawaii says that we reserve the right to oppose it. So it's not as strict, but it is certainly there. That was as far back as 1998. Alaska, no surprise. Mississippi, certainly no surprise. What are they, 49th and 50th and everything?
Yeah, a lot of things, yeah.
Missouri, no surprise. Montana. This was a surprise, Oregon. Oregon's on the list, and that ban took hold in 2004. Colorado.
Wow.
I think that's a surprise. Only a marriage between one man and one woman shall be valid. Tennessee, no surprise. Arizona, California. Even though that Prop 8?
Yeah.
There is still a ban though that says only marriage between a man and a woman is valid or recognized in California. 2008. Nebraska, Arkansas, no surprise. Georgia, no surprise. Kentucky, Louisiana, all the welfare states. North Dakota, Ohio, no surprise. Oklahoma, Utah, Kansas, Texas, oh surprise. Alabama, another rat hole. Idaho, South Carolina, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Virginia, and Nevada is the only state that repealed it. So, of all the 30 states that had amendments in 2020, Nevada actually repealed it. So, it's 29 states.
I'm really kind of surprised by some of those states because they also are home to some very large LGBTQ plus communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Florida. Florida is not exactly, you have Fort Lauderdale, South Beach. You have a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, did I mention Florida? I don't think I did.
You said Florida, yeah.
I'm going through Alaska,
Unless they
Mississippi,
don't have
Missouri, Montana, Oregon, Colorado, Tennessee, Arizona, California, Nebraska, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Utah, Kansas, Texas, Alabama, Idaho. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Florida was at the bottom. Florida, yep.
Wow.
So there's a lot. So thankfully, the states, other than I used to live in Oregon, but places like Minnesota where I lived, or Illinois, Pennsylvania does not have a ban. None of New England does. Delaware does not. Maryland does not. We're two different countries.
My vacation planning is becoming a lot easier.
Exactly.
Apparently, I can fly across the pond and visit some of our very forward-thinking European neighbors and friends. I could hop over the entire country and go to California, right?
Yeah.
But the world's become a lot smaller depending on who you are. We talked about this a little bit on Unbuttoned on Tuesday about, Alito claiming, and Kavanaugh, a bunch of them actually put in their consenting opinions about overturning Roe v. Wade that this had no effect on other rights, even though Clarence Thomas went out of his way to say, by the way. And, I wonder if he's actually doing us a favor saying, get this legislated at the federal level, because philosophically, the court has always opposed being the arbiter of this. But, the way our system works, if they have to be the final decider and I don't know.
Well, they've been apolitical. There's certain justices that had been appointed by conservative presidents that ended up being liberal.
Souter.
Roberts ended up actually being probably far more liberal than the Republicans would have liked, or at least sane. And it used to be. That's the sad thing, I think, is what happened here with another train wreck of Trump's presidency, is that the Supreme Court has become political.
Yep.
And it was one of the last bastions where we thought you could get a fair hearing.
Or at least when you got the decision, you basically said to yourself, this is coming from a group of impartial people, so we'll follow it. But you can't say that now, can you?
Right, and fact-based and everything else. And now, no. Particularly when you have Clarence Thomas's wife with the foil helmet on, very much a part of the insurrection, right?
You mean the kind of helmet my dad used to wear?
Yeah, with the oranges. Did you have the helmet? You should make one.
No.
There's a guy in Philadelphia that would walk around with a tinfoil little horn on it.
Hey, I don't know if you heard this or not. I now have to find the article that came up, and I should search for it. But I read an article that stated that a former clerk of Clarence Thomas once said that he overheard, or he directly heard Clarence Thomas saying, "Liberals made my life a hell for 43 years. I'm going to make their life a hell for 43 years.
I'll get you now, but I'll get you."
Get you. So when you hear that and you look at what's happening, do you say to yourself, is this someone who's actually, judging from the bench, or is it vendetta? Is it vendetta, vendetta justice, right?
Yeah, well, but wasn't it always a joke with him that he never ever took an opinion on anything for a long time?
Yes, yeah.
He never opened his mouth, right? He never.
Well, for many, many years until COVID, he never asked questions from the bench.
Right. So it's, just such an odd thing. But it's such an odd time we live in, and I've had this argument with discussion argument, but we really are two different countries, and it's sad because it's particularly with these latest rulings, it's going to create a lot of turmoil between states and make things even more contentious than they already are, which is sad.
Well, here's an article here's an argument from an article I read in the Atlantic. If you take religion out of it, which you should, and you go to the public square and you say, biologically, when do you say that a life is, a life? And you have some people who say, well, until it can survive without the mother, which is a standard that they use in Europe. Then you have people who say, well, it begins the minute of conception. How do you know? Because we know that because we have faith in that. Like the minute you hear the word faith come in or something like that, or I believe that, then you're not talking about science, and there's no rational way to have a conversation. Because what if you actually said, we agree with you that this is a life, but we also know that the mother there are issues, there are risks. It's one of the biggest reasons women will die is from a pregnancy gone wrong. What if everybody agreed that the cutoff no one really wants it, but it should be available, and 20 weeks or whatever the weeks are, right? Because 20 weeks puts it firmly into the second trimester, which at that point, you're well on your way to
Right.
having a
you
baby.
made the decision you're going to keep the child, right?
What?
I think you made the decision at that point you're going to keep the child unless there's some physical thing.
And so I don't know. It's
well, no.
Then I read another hilarious
right.
article I read another one that made me laugh. It was written by a conservative who said, now that we've won, we need to be the party of families and the party of child care and taking care of mothers. And I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Have you looked at the Republicans and how they deal with budgets when it comes to dealing with, child care and women? And so it's
Food
all
programs.
so hypocritical.
I do agree with somebody who said, and I don't know who it was, but I saw something on social media going around that said, fine, if you want to dictate that a woman needs to take a baby to term for whatever reason, then have equal responsibility from the man, so that man is going to pay at least 50% of the care of that child through 18 years old. The laws would change real quick.
Yeah, and that goes in line with another one that I read where someone said we should start a national data bank of DNA.
Yeah.
The minute you can identify a father of a child, that person needs to be firmly tied financially and with responsibility to that child. And then the author said the same thing you did. They said, boy, heads would spin so fast when that law changed.
Yeah, no, that would be the thing to do. And it would make, I think it'd make the most sense. The other thing that I advocated and got people spun up about, and this relates to the marriage issue that we talked about earlier, is what Melissa Etheridge advocated years ago when it was the hodgepodge of laws for marriage equality. And she said, if you're not treating me as a full citizen with equal benefits that everyone else has, why am I paying full taxes?
Oh, bingo. Why would I ever pay full freight? Yeah.
So
I don't know how we can't get that off the ground somehow. After all, the country was founded on the Tea Party, no taxation without representation, right?
Right. Yeah. So, that was the talk about wanting to make, there was a compromise, I think, going around about D.C. wants to be a state.
Yep.
But they're saying they won't do it because it's going to give Democrats 2 more senators. So,
which would be great.
But so then the thought was they would just collapse North and South Dakota and make that one state.
Lose 2.
Just call it Dakota. Well, then you don't have to change the flag. You still have 50 stars. Just collapse them. Here's Dakota, which makes sense. It should be the state of Dakota.
It's like, you've been following Herschel Walker. I mean, you don't have to follow much because whatever comes out of his mouth is insane. And then he has his crazy social media son, Christian, who, boy, you got to watch one of those TikToks. Your brain will feel like it's been frozen for a day. Herschel Walker said something about Stacey Abrams. If she doesn't want to be in this state, because she was complaining about child care and a bunch of other things and how they could do better. And he goes, if she doesn't want to be here, there's 52 other states she could be in. That's Trump's boy.
And Puerto Rico.
That's Trump's boy, yeah.
We had talked one time about geography. Mr. Moodry, remember Mr. Moodry, 7th grade? So there were 26 kids in the class. And everyone had to pick a state. And you had to do a report on the state. And I had picked North Dakota.
You did? Why?
That was his mystery. I got called up right to the desk. He goes, of all the states.
Why North Dakota?
He said, is it because there's nothing to talk about there? It's a vast land of nothing. He totally had this view of North Dakota. And I said, I don't know. I just kind of like the name. And
valid.
Valid. But then he got mad because we were in Connecticut. He said, nobody picked Connecticut. He said that would have been the easiest state for any of you to have done because you live here. And then he used me as an example again. Oh, North Dakota. Let's learn about North Dakota today. I think all I talked about was mining and something else that they had up there in the Great North. But yeah, I remember that being funny. And why I picked North Dakota, I don't know.
You'll never know.
Yeah.
Did you think Rushmore was there or something?
No, I don't know. I wish
Oh.
I wish I had remembered what some of the other states people picked were, but
Speaking of the Dakotas, I don't know if you saw Kristi Noem's response to a reporter's question about their draconian total ban on abortion without exclusions. If they said, well, what about someone who gets raped or if there's incest? And her answer was, my heart goes out to them. But
thoughts and prayers.
yeah. I can't believe people get away with saying this and are not held accountable.
Yeah, that's crazy. So on our show, we have our Caught My Eye segment, and then we'll do a bit. We'll take a quick break. We do a business birthday, and then we have our shop talk, which talks about the importance of vacation, which is a story
Yep.
John found, which people don't take enough of, or they usually don't take their time. I yell at Richard about that all the time, about not taking his time.
Take your
slowly.
days.
Take your days. So, Mr. Nash, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
All right. Mine is another rebranding of a famous and very popular product that got many of us through our early years after we graduated school because it used to be only 36 cents a box on sale at the supermarket.
23 cents in Ohio.
23. Okay, so have you seen then? Kraft macaroni and cheese is changing its name after 85 years. Now, unlike other brand changes that have occurred in terms of changing a troublesome icon or a bothersome icon like the Land O'Lakes, the Indian woman that used to be there, or Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben. This is simply, in my opinion, an acknowledgement of the market and the realities of what people actually call their product. Like, I don't know the last time someone's ever called macaroni and cheese macaroni. It's mac and cheese,
Mac
right?
and cheese.
So, yeah, the household staple is now called mac and cheese, which is meant to reflect the way fans organically talk about the brand. This is a smart thing they did. Along with the shortened name, shoppers will notice the box receiving a subtle makeover that includes a refreshed logo, new typography, and single hue blue that amplifies the brand's most recognizable asset, the noodle smile, which I didn't know that was the most recognizable asset.
I didn't either.
Kraft said the new name and box are part of an effort to rebrand its mac and cheese as comfort food. That distinction helps it differentiate from healthier products eating up shelf space. Goodles, for example, is a Gal Gadot. Now, Gal Gadot played the Wonder Woman, great actress, backed startup that sells boxed macaroni and cheese with more protein and fiber at a higher price. Banza, B-A-N-Z-A, and Annie's, I've used Annie's actually, also make similar products that market themselves as more wholesome than Kraft's version. Kraft's mac and cheese affordability has also taken a hit recently. Dozens of its products got price hikes in recent months, including a 3.5% increase on a pack of Easy Mac and a 20% price hike for a 7.25-ounce dish of Kraft Big Bowl macaroni and cheese. Strong demand and supply constraints and uncertainty have caused these price raises. So what do you think of the I don't mind the new packaging. I think this is a very smart move that they made to really hold on to the fact that they are mac and cheese. And have you had other brands of mac and cheese before?
I have. They're not as good, if you bought the
Exactly.
generic one.
Did you think it's the chemicals?
Yeah, it's the chemicals. The supposed cheese, although it says no artificial flavors, preservatives, or dyes. There are a couple things if I was on the brand team here that I would have just brought up as a question.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
a lot of people don't like blue food. You don't eat blue food. So the blue box to me, although it isn't ubiquitous, that's what we remember. So I won't be off on that. But what does surprise me is this prominence of the noodle with the dripping mouth, almost like you're drooling.
Yeah.
And what I don't like is that they've got 3 different flavors. If you're watching the video, John has it posted there. So there's thick and creamy, original, and spirals. So why wouldn't the smile? I don't know how you would do thick and creamy to differentiate, but why isn't the spiral one with a spiral smile?
I think that what they've done is that mac and cheese with the noodle thing, that's the lockup.
That's
That's
it.
the new logo.
That's it.
And you know what? You have an interesting point. As an art director, I'm not sure I like that little cheese drip coming off the
No,
noodle.
it looks like somebody's drooling, or they just,
Well, it's kind of messy in a way. I don't know that I would have put that forward to a client in a rebrand. And on the blue front, you have an interesting point. Years and years ago, I talked to a friend who used to do branding for major corporations, and he worked for a company called Landor. I think they're still here in New York. They were rebranding Maxwell House. It was a subtle change. They wanted to update the blue, and they built in their offices a fake aisle that a customer could walk down in a grocery store. And they put all these Maxwell House, these blue coffee bags, and they had shoppers come in and they tested what bag they picked, and they actually chose the new blue based on how many people picked a particular shade of blue. I asked him how much it cost. He waved his hand. He said, I can't even tell you how crazy expensive it was. I mean, they set up a fake grocery store in their office and they manufactured all these different blues. So a lot of work goes into it, but notice you don't like blue food, but you wouldn't necessarily mind a package for coffee maybe if it was Maxwell House?
Well, I do, but no, it's exactly what you said. Maxwell House has always been blue. We know that's the blue can. Chock full of nuts is yellow, black, and red, I think. And Folgers is red. And so you know those brands that way. And Kraft macaroni and cheese has always been in a blue box.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering whether they could have made it an orange box or something. But they probably did exactly what you said. They probably set up other competitors, set up a grocery aisle, and see what attracts you.
Because actually, you know who does the orange or yellowish box is that Annie's, the organic one.
Okay. Mine was are you going to get some mac and cheese? Did it make you want to order some?
I almost feel like it, to be honest with you, because you and I both jokingly said that there were days when that was dinner, and that was like, what was it, 36 cents or 20, whatever.
We would make it in college in a hot pot, and my friend Paul, he had it down to a science in that he always took one out. He took one of the noodles out, and then he would put it in the, when it was done, he would put it in the finished product. And I would ask him why, and he goes, because people come in, they want to take it from you after they know you're making it. And he goes, and if I put some raw ones in there and chew on them, they'll never ask again. So he would always put one or two raw ones he would save out.
A ringer.
So someone would say, oh, I'll have some. So he would hand it to them, a little cup, and he'd put in the hard one. And then they would never come back. Same with my friend Dave Ryan. We would always order pizza with olives and onions because we knew nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people would see the pizza guy pull up, and next thing you know, your pizza's gone. So anyway, that's my Kraft macaroni and cheese story. Mine caught my eye. This came out of CNN. It's out of a cemetery in Iowa. And a guy named Stephen Paul Owens had passed away. And he had his headstone done. This was in... He was quite a cantankerous old man, they said, and had a great sense of humor, would rile up, and was a little bit foul and used to swear quite a bit. And so the family thought, as he did when he died, that he wanted his tombstone to have kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. So they said they did this text on his tombstone to kind of as an ode to his dry humor and sometimes prickly attitude. Said he was a very fun-loving guy, but he was easily riled. And usually if he told you to F off, it meant he liked you. If he didn't like you, he said he didn't talk to you.
Okay.
Otherwise, he would tell you to, and I'll say the actual word since he'll say fuck off. So when they put together his tombstone with his permission, and you have to look at this because, and John has it up on the screen if you're watching the video, the tombstone reads, forever in our hearts, until we meet again, cherished memories known as our father, brother, father, papa, uncle, friend, and cousin. And so as it lines up, the words spell out, if you read them down, fuck off.
But, here's something. There's nothing bad being written on that.
No. But you'd have to look. Now, if you looked, I went up, tried to do close-up. So the U in until and the C in cherish, it looks like they did some sort of old English script or something. Mm-hmm. So, I think you'd have to really look to see that there. But so some trustees of the cemetery found out about it. They're all wound up. So they contacted the family and contacted the cemetery, the Camp Township trustees, and said that this cannot be installed because of profanity. But the Memorial Tombstone Company already made the headstone. They said, we're placing it anyway. Paid for, so they put the tombstone up, and they said since then the trustees now have pushed to have the tombstone removed. A representative is now gotten involved from the town, and they've got an attorney, and they're saying we don't want it there, and it really needs to be removed. But some people are saying this is a slippery slope. If you remove this, some say that they don't allow profanity anywhere in the cemetery, and if you allow this to remain, then other people are going to do a similar thing. And the family just simply said, our intention was not to offend anyone. We just ask that you let us remember our father in the way we remember him and in the way he wanted to be remembered, and not take it personally because it has nothing to do with you. And
I agree. I completely
so then they
agree.
said it was offensive to the other stones around, but you'd have to, if you
You'd
looked
have to
at it,
know.
unless somebody told you what that said, if you really wanted to hunt. So I thought it was kind of funny and clever, and so I appreciated the
I think it's completely hilarious.
Stephen
and
Paul
and
Owen
keeping
sense
in
of
the
humor.
keeping in the spirit of the guy, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what they said. He used swear words all the time, and they said it was a term of endearment. And he was cantankerous, easily riled.
You know what? 7 months from now, no one's going to give a crap.
No.
So somehow people got wind of the fact that they lined up the letters, and if you knew that,
Right.
you could figure out what it was. And oh my God, we can't have profanity. What profanity? The word is not even spelt out anywhere, right?
No. No. Well, no,
Unless
not
you-
unless you read it down. Yeah.
So I think it's just ridiculous, and I love all the hand flapping
yeah.
and oh my God, what are we going to do? We better get the
If we allow profanity of this sort, where do we draw the line?
Wow.
Are you going
Well,
to have a tombstone?
I'm going to be I never even thought of it. You know that? I honestly never thought of it.
I didn't either. I was wondering if you were putting something on it.
Oh God.
But
By
it's
the
worth
time,
thinking.
well, who knows what
You
the time-
overthink
well,
a lot of things, so this will give you something to do today.
Yeah.
'Cause you-
Okay. Now I'm going to put that on my list. Tombstone. What am I going to say?
I'm sure it'll be some sort of Star Trek thing or science fiction thing.
For reasons known only to me.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
You know what that means.
Yeah.
That might be a good one. That could be a very funny throwback thing.
Yeah. So
All right, folks. We're going to take a super quick break, and when we come back, we have our business birthday, the only show in the universe that does the business birthday, and we have a shop talk about the importance of planning and taking vacation. I think the second part is even more important than the first. Take vacation. So stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John T. Nash. Find out all about us at focusgroupradio.com, as well as our sponsors listed there, and our TFG Unbuttoned, which is our 20-minute podcast, which is released every Tuesday. John, I just had something come across the wire, and I just screamed. I didn't read the full thing. But apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's apparently a shortage of tampons. Did you know this?
And she blames,
She's blaming transgender people.
transgendered men. Yeah.
Why?
I keep going back to what people in her state keep saying. Like, she hasn't legislated one thing. She's basically just a firebrand. And you know that they purposely voted her in because she's pugnacious and she likes to be an ass, right?
Right, so she says the shortage is happening because they're now putting tampons in men's bathrooms because of trans men that need tampons. And everybody's just shaking their head on this and saying it's really a supply chain issue. It's nothing to do with the fact that there's trans men with a tampon shortage. I mean, I can't. I'm reading through this whole thing. She's saying people can't find tampons. People who menstruate can't find tampons. She's going on and on and on. It says she wants to know if they've checked warehouses at the border because that's where all the baby formula is hidden out in stock too. Apparently, she's upset about the border again. So, yeah, I just laughed when I saw that come across. I didn't want to.
If anybody has any thoughts about why the republic seems to be faltering and we're not firing on all cylinders and we're not like doing all these great, one of the wealthiest countries in the world we can't protect anyway, just look at her.
Yeah.
That she's not a productive member of Congress. What is this, just spitballing crap and seeing what sticks for the social media purposes?
Well, it's almost, well, yeah. And it's almost as, well, dude, you can't even make it up. That's what the strange part is. Because if you wanted to even just be funny like Borat or something, right? You couldn't
Yeah.
even say something as absurd without being such a total moron.
Unless it
But
being a script line in a movie like Blazing Saddles, or like yeah,
yeah,
she
it's
she
crazy.
is a punchline maker, right?
Yeah. So speaking of punchline makers, we've got our business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Today is June 29th, born today in 1975. Happy 47th to Feras Antoon. He's a Syrian Canadian pornographer and the co-owner and CEO of MindGeek, which is the world's largest pornography company. Runs a sites such as YouTube, Pornhub, and RedTube. How many people do you think a day log into his sites? Individual logins a day.
Pornhub in particular, they are so huge that they actually publish statistics days after, like the Super Bowl, or here's what people are searching for. Daily basis, how many people? If I said, why do I think 14 million?
Well, you'd be very low.
28?
Higher. You're like
130.
Bob Barker. 130. Did you Google it while we're on the phone?
No, I didn't.
So Google it. Yeah, no, it's 130 million visitors a day just to Pornhub,
Wow. Worldwide, right?
globally.
Global, okay.
Which, I guess it's. And by the way, they did have a side note here. I didn't pull it up, but apparently trans porn is most popular in the red states.
Are you kidding
They
me?
had a sidebar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Texas, number one, followed by Mississippi, Louisiana. All the usual suspects. So he created the first porn site in early 2000. He came from Syria to Canada, went to college at Concordia University, resident in Montreal. He got a degree in engineering, and he and four buddies started a website in 2000s, or in the early 2000s, and they called it Brazzers, Brazzers, which specialized in MILF porn. That's older women attracted to
Yeah.
young men, mothers I like. Um, his soon-to-be brother-in-law ended up managing the company, and then he decided initially that the Brazzers was also done because it harkened back to what they felt was their Middle Eastern roots, and Brazzers was some sort of a word or sounded similar to brothers.
Hmm.
I didn't quite understand that. That was in 2005. He said their first website they focused on busty women because he said the big tit niche was cheap. Sounds like
Chesty, yeah.
who was the one, the hustler guy, Larry
Larry Flint.
Larry Flint talks like him. He's a big tit niche was cheap. They realized that the MILF niche of older women was even bigger than the big boob porn. So they became masters of the big tit MILF niche. Was what they were famous for. So he ended up selling. They sold the business for 140 million to a German businessman who ended up being extradited under tax evasion. So they bought the company back for 73 million euros. So for about half the value, renamed it or called it MindGeek, which they said for the uninitiated eye appears to be a run-of-the-mill website that advertises a marketing company and boasts hundreds of millions of daily visitors and billions of impressions. They said the company glosses over the fact that the websites that they produce and make is really digital pornography. And it said, again, they own Pornhub, RedTube, YouPorn, a bunch of others. He, in 2016, there was a warrant executed and a cease and desist order on them. And he was able to get out of that. However, last week, he resigned from the company. And they don't know why. There's lots of controversy. He and the COO, David Tassilo, both resigned from the company. New York Times had been, or the New Yorker magazine had done an expose on them. Said there's no reason behind the resignations. It's not been immediately clear, but it comes in the wake of an extensive article published last week in the New Yorker that documents an alarming issue that Pornhub was posting non-consensual content. And also, it was too easy for people to just upload anonymous content to the platform. There was also some that they felt involved minors in other illegal activity. So both of them have kind of disappeared. He also, in early April, they think it was an act of arson, his house burned down. He had a $19
Okay.
million mansion. His house suddenly
Wow.
burned down to the ground. So yeah, so it's a birthday, but I guess he's probably not celebrating a lot today.
I had read. It's interesting. I had read about the two of them abruptly leaving Pornhub, and I did read about the fact that there was this expose that showcased or zeroed in on the fact that they were not doing due diligence on monitoring who could upload what. So that, this anonymous thing would be if you had a hookup or sex with somebody and they happened to be recording it and
Right.
you did not know it, and they put a clip of it up. That's without your consent, obviously. And imagine if that thing starts being seen by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
It's a big problem, right?
Yeah. Well, because of that, MasterCard and Visa also cut ties with them, which
That's a
they
big problem.
Yeah, they certainly relied on that.
How would you even go about trying to confirm that the clip you were putting up was yours to put up? I mean, I could see where this would be a problem for a business like his, which would rely on the submission of all this stuff, that if you put a wrench in that, like, oh, you got to prove, right?
Well, they said they contacted MasterCard and Visa in response to them cutting them off and said that they purged all non-verified content from their website and promised to only allow uploads from verified accounts. And then they said this move led to further criticism from sex workers who said their livelihood was under attack. But this was similar to issues where people talk about fake accounts on a lot of social media platforms, right? Twitter famously has so many either Russian bots or some sort of fake content, as does Facebook. So
Facebook, please.
how do you verify an account? I
A
guess
swamp and a swamp and a swamp.
yeah. Yeah, so that was our birthday today, 47 years old, Feras Antoon. Listen, people make money on this pornography, John.
They do, and
But
then
it
they
always
risk.
seems to be dirty.
Yeah, and then they risk what's going on right now. Expose is going to come out. You have unverified content.
House burns down.
House burns down.
Tax
He and
evasion,
the other guy
extradition.
quit. There's a suitcase of money being flung across the border. Who knows?
Yeah. So, that was his birthday. Popped up. I didn't know who he was. I never heard of his name.
Okay.
But he popped up as our business birthday. So the our shop talk this week, excuse me, is a story John had found about someone from Price. I believe it's Price Waterhouse Coopers,
Yeah.
and
PwC.
it says why this HR leader spends every January planning her vacations for the year. And it talks about so many, just in general, I'll say before we get into some of the actual responses from her or thoughts from her, was that so many people get either 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, plus some other paid off time, and they never use it. And I was famous for never using all of my vacation time. I think I had 4 weeks, and I might use a week and take a day here and there, but generally I didn't use it. I know Richard never uses his. He's maxed out on his bank. And you differently, though, because you worked for yourself. You were always working, right?
Yeah.
So you never really said, oh, I'm just going to shut everything off for 2 weeks and go away. But this HR talent strategy person at Price Waterhouse, Kim Jones, said that she starts planning her vacations in January or planning her days off so that she has something to look forward to during when it's either a lot more stressful or busy, that she can look forward to say, okay, but I've got this reward coming up of 3 days off or a week off. I'm going to take this trip, and talked about the importance of taking your vacation days. What was your impression of that?
Well, a couple things. First, PricewaterhouseCooper, they made headlines a while ago by offering a $250 vacation bonus to employees who took 40 consecutive hours of vacation at a time, up to once per quarter, for a total possible bonus of $1,000 a year as an incentive to take your vacation. So Kim Jones, who is a talent strategy and people experience leader, is a big proponent of people taking vacations, as Tim said. And one reason and we'll go into a couple here, is that when you're not in the office, it gives others the opportunity to shine or to pick up and do things that they might not be doing because they're handling extra responsibilities, and that's not a bad thing. So she says here that, as Tim said, she starts her vacation thought process in January, and she sits down with a calendar and she starts thinking about life events. In this case, she had a daughter who was graduating from NYU at some point last year, or maybe it was this year. She looks at things that maybe I want to go here, maybe I want to do this year, and she literally just blocks into the calendar a couple of weeks, that 3-day weekends or a week here or 2 weeks there, and that's how she starts her process. And then she says in the next one, you have to be intentional, or how to be intentional with your vacation time. What does she think about that?
Well, because if her thought, and this goes right to the first one of, plan early and then be intentional about it, because if you don't, next thing you know, 4 or 5 months have gone by and you're
Yep.
always going to be busy. Busy's going to happen. And if you haven't planned something, you'll end up getting in the mindset of, well, I guess I'll do it another time. And you end up not taking the time. So you have to be intentional about saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down with my spreadsheet or look at the year, look what's happening, and then plan it and actually then take it.
And then her next, this is what I said earlier: how to recognize your colleagues for holding down the fort. And she said, I told my team I was so grateful for them for not interrupting me when she was on vacation, particularly this last one I mentioned at her daughter's graduation. It was a highly anticipated event. She's really busy from February to April. Her daughter's graduation was in May, and this was an important thing to her. It was a light at the end of the tunnel, but she was so thrilled to be able to do it, trust that things were getting done. And when she came back, it was like, hey, everybody did a great job, right?
Right. And then the final question that this reporter asked her, what she would tell the 25-year-old self
Yeah, I
about
like
taking
this.
time off. She said, taking a vacation is about you, but also those around you, so you can bring your best self to the team. It helps you stay energized, sharp, and focused, and come back to work even stronger. I would say, for my time at the longest time I spent in corporate America at Subaru, I would say they were culturally very well ahead of their time. And because time off was your time off, you weren't expected to be contacted, and everybody knew you'd shut your phone off. And unless there was some sort of major emergency, which I don't think there ever was, maybe once in my life.
Oh, I
I
could
had to
tell you an
call on a
emergency
weekend.
that popped up where you had to interrupt
Yeah, when somebody-
C-suite.
Yeah, but that was more weekend, because it was also weekends. Don't interrupt me on the weekends, and don't
Yeah.
interrupt me on my vacation. The very first time I worked for one of the senior level guys, I remember he was taking time off around Christmas holidays, Christmas and New Year's. And he just looked at me and he said, I'll see you in the new year. And if anything comes up, handle it.
Yeah.
And it was his way of saying, handle it, because I'm off for 2 weeks, and that's that. Which I appreciated that as well, because as you said earlier here in this piece, it allowed me to have responsibility and also know that I was trusted to handle something if it had come up. And so I think it's a smart thing to do. But I always yell at people that I know that are in the corporate arena that do not take their time. Does Bob take his time?
Yes, he does. Yeah,
Does he take
he's
it
a big
all,
one
or-
for taking vacation,
Yeah.
and he does take it all. And for me, having been freelance and business owner, I've discovered that the best vacation for me is a destination that's 5 hours out of my time zone. So it's either ahead of me or behind me. So if I go to Europe, I'm 5 hours ahead of what's ever happening here, and I can't possibly solve a problem, because by the time the problem comes up, half the day is gone. And if I'm in California or Hawaii, which I only been to Hawaii once, but if I'm out west, again, it's already happened,
Right.
and I'm reacting to it.
Well, that's smart, because if you were in Europe, it's day's over. Right.
Oh, the last time I was in France, when I got my amazing bike ride up Mont Ventoux, we stayed at our friend's chateau in Provence, and I would get email, because I had signed up for data on my phone, and I'd get some email in it, like
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's done. It's over. I'm ahead of you. Yeah.
Do you have any summer vacation plans this year?
No,
I
and
know
Bob
you
and I
usually
have
have
talked.
family stuff, don't you?
Well, we have my mom, Bob's mom, and my mom are going to be reunited in a week or two. They're both going to be up at the house for a lunch, and that's going to be we're arranging that now. But we haven't taken a vacation since lockdown, to be
Right.
honest with you. And the closest thing to that was a day trip to this fun Star Trek experience up in Fort Ticonderoga,
remember
where they
that.
recreated the sets of the original. I mean, I felt I was gone for a day or two, but it was only a day trip. Then our next biggest trip was to California to see our friends Alex and Tyler get married in San Diego. A lot of fun. It was a week off. It was a great week, and it was such a nice thing to not have responsibilities. to just wander. We made the trip up as we went along. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the Del Coronado, famous hotel from Some Like It Hot, and we discovered a lot of fun things, and
Right.
it was a great trip, but that had been planned for a while. So I sat down with Bob and said, we need to really plan a trip. And now we're in the throes of thinking about it. And he actually was like, oh, well, let's go down to Rehoboth. And I said, we could go to Rehoboth. I said, but we could also go somewhere 5 hours out of the time zone.
Where would you go 5 hours? You're not going to go to Vegas, or it's too hot.
Palm Springs. He was thinking of the Springs.
Oh, that's interesting. I bet it's changed a lot.
Yeah, and he was thinking, he said, if we rented an Airbnb out there, he goes, would Tim and Richard come out? I said, yeah, sure they would, if it had an infinity pool. Yeah,
Yeah, if it had a pool.
yeah, it's got to have a pool.
Yeah,
and I think it's
you've
got to be
always
in Palm
rented a
Springs
place with a
proper.
pool. Yeah,
It's what?
You've always rented with a pool, though.
Well, the last time we did was out in Cat City, and
Was there a pool?
there was, but the pool filter caught on fire at one
Oh my
point.
God.
Then the pool guy came to fix it, and he fixed it. And he said, this guy, he won't replace this thing. I tell him whoever the owner was. And then as he's skimming the pool, we're talking about how there's going to be a drought. And I grew up in Palm Springs. Every year it's water. We're going to run out of water. But yeah, Bob would like somewhere where he could lay out in the sun. And I said, honey, in August or September, it's still 100 degrees out in Palm Springs. Am I wrong about that?
No, it's hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably want to go October-ish.
Actually, that could be a pretty cool time to go, huh? And then I said, if we did that, we could tie in one thing I'm dying to do. Was the last trip we took to Palm Springs and in California or Los Angeles, we had seen an exhibit that the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences had put on as a demonstration of the new museum they were building. It was this incredible costume exhibit. We loved it. We spent hours there. The museum's open now, the official museum, and I'm dying to see it. So
Is
that
it
would
in
be
Los
good.
Angeles or where?
Yeah, it's in Los Angeles. And I thought, you go out for the Springs and maybe you cut your trip to you rent for 4 or 5 days, and you come to LA and you do some nice dinners and you do the museum, and there's people we know there we could visit as well. So, might not be bad.
Yeah, they've had some hot temperatures out there,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is
And you saw the pictures of Lake Mead lately?
oof. Yeah, it's sad.
Nothing like the last time you and I were there. They had the water line was low, but it wasn't.
Yeah, no, it's
Non-existent,
It's a huge issue, of course. So
All right, so so folks, the capstone of that is take your vacation and enjoy it, because it benefits not just you, but your coworkers as well. And on that happy note, as a client of mine used to say, on that happy note, we want to thank you for joining us today. Check out TFG Unbuttoned on Tuesdays. You can also find all our media at focusgroupradio.com. You'll learn about Tim and I and our partners. And you'll learn about Deep Discount, too. And we urge you to go there and start your movie and book and game and anything you can imagine is over at Deep Discount. Go to our site, focusgroupradio.com, and click on the Deep Discount logo and start your shopping. And we will be hearing more from them later in the month. So, everybody, as we like to say, don't text and drive, arrive alive, and we will see you in the new week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.